second. We'll be back in just 1 second. You can't unmute it. He can't unmute it. Come on. He's trying to log in with his camera right now, but we'll be up in just a second. Now you probably see me now. Yeah. All right. We're waiting on our guest. He's either gonna log in or call in, or I'll call him. We're sitting here chatting back and forth, but he's trying to get his computer. This dude's into survival. He ain't into the interweb. He goes to places the interweb doesn't work. So send me a number. He's in the live stream with me. His camera's not working, so he had some issues with that. Nevertheless, if he can't get in, I definitely will get him. I will pull him through on the. We're gonna call him in right now. So this way, we can just kick off with this. I'm gonna give Jason a call right now. Pull my headphones out because I don't need those. And we'll go live with him on the phone. They call me dad with a phone for a reason, so it's no big deal. You guys aren't afraid of a little phone call. So what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, man. I didn't expect you to know how to work a computer anyway.
I should be able to work a computer. I ran one or sat behind one for 20 years, but slightly different than what we're doing here.
Well, Jason, how do you pronounce your last name?
Marsteiner.
Marsteiner. So this is Jason Marsteiner. He's the creator and owner and one of the instructors out at Colorado Mountain Man Survival and Survival University. We're live right now, so we'll just roll into this. Don't worry about technical stuff. I got you a nice little pretty picture. You look nice and mean up on the screen and everything. So,
well, I can actually see the screen, so I can see you. I just can't. You can't see me.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, it's not letting you log in with your camera there. So, we got lots of people already watching, but we're gonna just roll into it, man. And so, tell me a little bit about yourself. Just kind of who you are, what you do. I know all this, but our viewers don't. So we just want to just kick it off with that, and we'll get to know you a little bit.
All right. Well, as you already mentioned, I'm Jason. I'm Colorado native. Grew up here, born in Colorado Springs at Air Force Academy, and pretty much spent my whole life here. Moved up into Cripple Creek up in the mountains. If anybody's not familiar with the area, at the backside of Pikes Peak from Colorado Springs, when I was, fourth grade. So I think, what age is that? 8 or 9 years old. Lived up there until I was about a year out of high school. And then went up to college up in Greeley for about a year and a half. Didn't really care for the college up there too much. Maybe I partied a little bit too hard. Wasn't focused on enough or whatever. I don't know. But it just wasn't for me. So I went back to Cripple Creek, worked for a little while in town, just the touristy stuff, and then went to Pikes Peak Community College for a little while, got into electronics, and then went into IT for a number of years. But that's kind of boring stuff. I should know how to run a computer, but
that you must not have been no good at that.
Yeah, that's why I'm not there anymore. But as a kid, I was outside all the time, hiking and camping and fishing and what people call surviving and prepping nowadays was just normal. As a kid.
Yeah, and I want to clarify something. You're not a prepper. You're not some militia you're not like prepping for the end of the world.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah,
Absolutely not.
you teach survival training and focus around survival training, people going out in the woods for a weekend hike, get hurt, have some skills to help themselves, stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's my primary focus, but I get people that come in that are interested in learning for their prepper type lifestyle. So
Okay.
everything from, a beginner outdoorsman, the office executive that likes to go hiking and realize he has no idea what to do as something goes wrong, all the way up to the guys that have been, that are hardcore preppers that are focused on gear and stuff, and then they realize they want training. And a lot of guys have come out with some pretty intense training outside of what I do, and they want to learn how to basically live off the land. So they get that knowledge from me.
Absolutely. It's amazing because just a normal person, right? If you just take a normal person that works everyday life in a city, and has more of an urban upbringing, and they end up and you take them into the woods, it's weird because there's almost like this fear of the woods people have.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Colorado is a big adventure state. We have a lot of people that come out here from all over the country, all over the world, that want to go out and play in the mountains, go hiking or whatever. And a lot of people have no idea or very little idea what they need to have out there with them in case something goes wrong. And that's kind of what the majority of my clients are people that don't know what they don't know. So I bring them out there and I teach them the basic skills. But like I said, it's all stuff that I really did growing up in that small mountain town. And I've done some bug out bag classes to cater to that prepper side. And I've done I'm not military. I don't have a military background, but my dad was military. All of his friends were military. I've got tons of military friends growing up, my dad's friends. So I've got kind of a little bit of experience or training from those guys, but I'm not military. But really what I do, you don't have to be military to know. To know these skills. And I actually have trained military, I guess, on what they need to know if they're out and behind enemy lines and they aren't able to get their supplies. That's kind of what I teach people to do is if you have nothing, what do you do?
Yeah. And that's kind of, go over kind of the basics kind of stuff. You teach the fire, shelter, and water, looking for, how to find this stuff, what can someone expect coming to one of your classes?
Well, I run all sorts of different classes. And I guess my main class, my bread and butter class, if you will, is a 5-day class. I call it the 5-day outdoor skills class, or the survival standard. Basically, for that 5 days, we go over food, fire, shelter, and water, and your basic toolcraft, things that you can make out in the woods. We spend every day covering one full subject. So day one, we usually cover tools. What can you make out in the woods with minimal gear? If I had a knife, what can we build in your toolkit with that knife? The second day, we go over fire. We usually start we start modern, going over matches and lighters and the ferro rods, and we go over flint and steel and different fire tenders, and then we work our way up to starting a fire with a bow drill fire. So basically starting a fire with nothing but sticks and a rock. And day 3, we go into shelters. Day 4, we go into procuring food, wild edibles, trapping, fishing. We don't actually do any trapping or fishing or hunting, I should say, because typically we're out of season, so we can't do it legally. So we just teach people how to forage for food, and then the last day is water how to procure water, how to find water, how to purify water, difference between water filtration, water purification, and that's the core class. But we do. I have a bow making class. I have a flint knapping class. We have navigation. I have a 50-day class that covers everything. You come out there as a absolute beginner, and by the time I'm done with you, you're pretty sufficient in the woods. I actually had a young man that came out from Florida this past year for the 50-day class. He's pretty much a city boy and never really been out in the woods before. And then by the time I was done with him, that last 11 days, I sent him out in the woods, and he survived off the land for 11 days. So that's my long class.
You almost take people back into for going after these forgotten things, these things that people don't have to. I feel like we don't have to worry about anymore. But then on the flip side, there are story after stories that people find themselves in circumstances daily. They just pulled a guy out just yesterday, it was yesterday. They found a guy that was trapped on a trail in the Grand Canyon, or he had been out there for like 12 extra days than he planned to be, and they found him alive, but they had to life flight him out. But yeah, the everyday person, if they're just going out into the woods, could find themselves in a situation that these skills could come in handy to save lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you were to pull up and search for on the internet people getting hurt or lost or whatever out in the woods, it's almost a daily occurrence, throughout the U.S. And it's just people go out totally unprepared. So really, the basic class is teaching people what they need to bring with them to be prepared. Honestly, if I teach the bow drill fire. What I tell my students when I get out there, if you're in a situation where you have to start a fire by rubbing sticks together, you screwed up somewhere along.
Yeah,
you didn't prepare properly, and you shouldn't have really been out there to begin with. You should go out there with some way to start a fire. Most people want to go out there with a lighter, but I teach people why a lighter is a bad choice. It's not always a bad choice, but there are circumstances when a lighter is not your best tool to have out there. Matches and things like that. But if people go out and get hurt or lost or dead every day out in the woods, or out in the mountains, or on the Appalachian Trail, or in their own backyard, or a city park, or whatever, and it could be prevented with a little bit of knowledge. And I try to reach out and give people that knowledge. It's just stuff that I learned growing up out in the mountains.
Yeah, I saw. We were watching a couple of your videos, and I saw a video. It looked like you guys are the way you explained it. Felt like. And a lot of my viewers actually know the Cripple Creek area just because they come from the true crime world and have been following some true crime stuff. But it looked like you were kind of in between Cripple Creek and Canyon City, but you were doing like a foraged stew where you were just going around and finding stuff literally in the field, and then you made this little stew, and it amazed me and my wife. I was like, this is like where we live. But the skills and stuff that you're teaching, they don't just apply for Colorado. Anywhere in the country that you go into the woods, there's going to be forageable foods and stuff that people could go after, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The only really difference between the survival skills that I teach and the location you're at is the flora and the fauna that are out there. You need to know specifically what plants, what animals are in your area. And I teach specifically for the Colorado area because everything changes. If I go out east, and I've actually done some training out in the Midwest, Arkansas, Missouri area.
Okay.
The plants change. We have some the same, but a lot of them are different. So just because you know something here in Colorado doesn't necessarily mean you're going to know what you can eat out in Florida. or out in California. Might be some similar things, but they do change a little bit. So you really have to be kind of specific to your area, and that's something that I do teach is what to look for in reading material and books and wild plant books. You know, if I want to learn about plants in Wyoming, I'm not going to buy a book that covers the western coast or the whole Midwest, because that's going to be a huge amount of plants that are unnecessary to learn. So for Colorado, I teach people what specific Colorado or Rocky Mountain books are the best to use for foraging for food, or for foraging for wild plants. The problem with wild plants is that your body needs proteins. You can't get complete proteins from one type of plant. So you have to mix up your plants. You have to find other sources of food. You can't just survive off of one small set of plants. My goal is that 50-day class is to train people that want to open up satellite schools. So I've got a guy in Arizona right now, and we actually have a 5-day Arizona desert survival class coming up.
Nice.
Next month. So, we're going to go out there. I'm going to go out to Arizona here next month, and we're going to teach people what you can find in the desert to eat, or, how to get water out in the desert. But there are other schools throughout the country that do this. They're not associated with me, but you just have to find those schools and do a little research, because there are some shady, I don't know if I call them shady. They're just not.
Come on, tell us what you really think about them other guys.
Yeah, well, there's a few of them I really don't like, but I don't like to bash people. But just do your research. If you're going to go out there and go to a different school or different training or whatever, make sure you do your research on these people and really dig deep to see what's going on with those guys. But anyways, I think the food changes, so you have to be aware for your specific area.
Absolutely, yeah. Tell me, so that people understand, what if they were to hook up and come to one of your classes, your camp or your university, the outdoor facility that you run, it is set up though. I mean, I was out there a couple of years ago and it was set up, but I know you have done massive work over the last couple of years and even grown it. And it's not a comfort camp, but they're not coming out there to learn how to survive. While they're out there, they're going to be taught these skills, but you have not facilities, but you have canvas tents and different things, but you also have these outdoor shelters that people have built over the years that are available. So tell, kind of as best as you can, give a visual of kind of what your camp would be set up. How many people could you facilitate there at one time? Stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it is survival training. It's not survival. So, a lot of people get scared when they hear that survival, the word survival. But yeah, I'm training people how to survive. I'm not throwing them into survival situations.
Absolutely.
The only I throw into a survival situation are during that 50-day class, or the people that sign up specifically for these advanced programs. But for my beginner and intermediate classes, we have an established camp, which is roughly 15 minutes away from Cripple Creek. So really, if anything were to happen, we are within driving distance to Woodland Park, the Woodland Park Hospital. We're within even quicker distance to EMS there in Cripple Creek. They all know where I'm at. They know where to find me. They know where the camp is. But the camp, it's basically, for these beginner and intermediate classes, you're basically car camping. If you wanted to pull up in your vehicle and sleep in your car for the night, you're more than welcome to. Most people come out there with tents. They set up a tent, hang around by the campfire. We train them for the day, and they go to their tent to sleep at night. But I have 3 large tents. 2 of them are GP mediums, military wall tents. One of them has wood burning stoves in it and insulated a winter liner. So during winter, we run winter survival classes. It's 20 below outside during the winter sometimes, and we can have it 60 degrees inside that tent at night. So it is, we're not glamping, but it's comfortable out there. I've got cot for people that want to stay in those big tents. And then I have a GP small, which holds 10 people, they say, but really it's more like 4 people comfortably. But it also has a wood burning stove in it.
Gotcha.
But we have water out there. You can bring whatever food. If you wanted to bring steak and lobster out there, I'm not making you starve. I'm not making you forage for your food unless you want to. You get out of it as much as you want to put into it. But if you come out to your typical class, you're not starving for 5 days.
Do you have families come out and stuff?
Oh yeah, I mean, I get I would say 50% of the people that come out there are families. Mother, father, and their child, or father and son, or I get a lot of moms and they bring out their kids because dad's not around for whatever reason, and she wants their kids to know the outdoor stuff, and she doesn't have the skills, but she wants them to know it. So I get a lot of moms that bring their children out to learn from me. But yeah, families, I get single people, I get couples, I get, you name it. We have them out at camp. And my typical class size is, about 5 to 12 people. So we keep it pretty small. Okay. If I do go over 12 people, then I bring in a second instructor. So I can handle more people without taking away from that quality. That's probably what I have a problem with a lot of other schools out there. They're more about the quantity of training than the quality of training. So I try to keep, really my preference is about 8 people, 1 to 8 ratio for these standard basic intermediate classes. But outside of those tents, I have primitive shelters set up so people can sleep in a shelter that I built, made out of nothing but sticks and leaves, or people can build their own and sleep in that. But it's really kind of a comfortable setting. It's kind of a social area. I've got a social fire pit that everybody can hang around. We run classes typically from about 9 a.m. to 5 or 6 p.m., depending on the time of the year, and I try to, keep it very professional. I try to keep it more family oriented. I don't allow a lot of partying, no drug use. So if people want to come out and after class have a beer around the campfire, that's kind of part of camping. I don't mind that, but we are in the wild, really. There are dangers out there, so I make sure that people keep their wits about them and stay safe.
Yeah, it's a real safe environment for sure.
It is, and I oversee it, and I make sure that everybody's comfortable and having a good time.
How long have you ever, or what's the longest period of time you personally have spent in the woods? Like, I mean, with on an extended time.
During training or just out there by myself?
Yeah, kind of. I kind of, like, how long have you survived in the woods with no modern amenities?
I would say if I were to go for with no gear, a week. Well, my knife, a week. But I've been out there with my top 10 items for 50 days. But I'm resupplying. I'm getting stuff like that, so I'm not totally living off the land. If we're going to say I'm totally living off the land, then 7 days.
What is it? What's your top 10? When you say your top 10, what are you talking about there?
So, there's basically the items that cover your food, fire, shelter, water. My knife is number 1. Typically, a fire starter of some sort is number 2. A cooking pot is number 3. I like to have a saw. shelter, and that's my top 5. The next 5 are kind of, I consider to be luxury items. A tarp, rain poncho. I hate trying to think of them. I can never think of them on the fly. But really, the top 5 items are your key necessities.
Okay.
The 5, those are the ones that are the hardest to reproduce out in the wild. That's going to be your knife, fire making tool, a container, a shelter of some sort, which is a tarp, typically a rain poncho, and then rope. That's another one that I like to carry. Typically it's paracord, but sometimes they're called the 5 C's of survival. That by Dave Canterbury came up with that, but it's just a really he just coined the phrase, I suppose. But I felt like I kind of knew the necessities even as a kid. But it's just those 5 pieces of gear make things a lot easier. You don't need them; it just makes things a lot easier out in the woods.
Yeah, I kind of felt like when I was out at your place, I felt like I was almost on the set of the television show Survivor. Like, we made like surviving in the wild almost like cool and everything through a reality TV show for a lot of people. That's as far as they ever got, was like watching Survivor. Could you make it 30 days in the woods? But you do a lot of challenges in your classes where that it's almost not a survival challenge, but that's what it is. People are trying to having to do these different challenges over certain days and stuff like that. What's a crazy story? One of the something that someone came in didn't thinking they were going to be able to do anything. Next thing you know, they're actually surviving out there.
Well, I mean, I've had so many students come through it. It's kind of hard to really pick. But really, one lady that really comes to mind. She came out wearing like cashmere sweaters, and her gear was in these roller suitcases, and she was wearing high heels. And had the fake eyelashes and the long fingernails. Total city girl. Never been out in the woods ever. And she couldn't believe how dark it was at night. She's so used to the city lights, and she was pretty scared the first 2 days. And then after the 3rd day, she just I don't know, I got into her head or whatever, but she was like, I'm going to do this. If I'm here, I'm going to do it to my fullest potential. And she took off her fingernails, took off her eyelashes, came out. She was still wearing her nice clothes, but she was like, these are my beater nice clothes, and it's nicer than anything I ever owned. Nice. Day 3, she was like, I'm going to go out away from camp, and I'm going to build my own shelter and sleep out there. And she was the only person in the class that slept away from camp by herself, and she built her own shelter. She built her own fire. And we had her building her own fire with a bow drill, and she ended up, when she came in there here, I was like, she's going to leave after the 2nd day. She was the one that did the best out of that whole group. And she just killed it. But it just goes to show you that it's a mindset. Survival is 90% mental. If you go in there with a defeated personality or a defeated mindset, you're going to fail. She went in there, and at first she thought she was going to fail, but then she got positive about it, and she was the one that really prevailed out of everybody else. And she, all I can say is she just killed it. She did really well. But as far as crazy stories, I really, my classes are kind of low key. I mean, I don't, like I said, this is survival training. It's not survival. So I have people just I'm just teaching them the basic skills.
Have you ever had anyone contact you after a class where they found themselves in a situation using stuff that they learned?
I've had like a youth group kind of that contacted me, and I taught them. Actually, it was very young kids, so between the age of 6 to 9, I believe, is the age group.
Okay.
But they go out on winter hikes quite often, and the kids are always running off and doing their own thing, and the parents were really having a hard time keeping the kids contained and together as a group. And I kind of told them about a story where one kid, and it's a true story, about a kid that was running between his two family groups that were walking down this trail, and that the group of families, the family groups, the core groups were about 200 yards apart, and the kid was running from group A to group B back and forth, and he was never in their line of sight as he was running back and forth up and down the hill. Well, sometime during that hike, there was a mountain lion. The mountain lion grabbed that kid, and the families, they didn't know because they just assumed he was with the other family. The kid had been gone for hours before they realized, where's little Johnny? When they finally backtracked and ended up finding him, but he was dead, unfortunately. So the mountain lion got him. So it really rang true for those kids. So those kids started to realize that there are dangers out there, but I didn't scare them so much that they didn't want to go out anymore, because I taught them what they needed to do for a wildlife encounter. And it turns out I think it was about 3 or 4 months after they took my class with me, and it was just a one-day walk that they did with me, they actually had a bear encounter. And I taught them that should you encounter wildlife, such as a bear, that you all need to group together and act big. You're one animal, you're one big mass. And just a bunch of kids were able to chase that bear away because they all came together as a team and acted as basically a giant predator to scare that bear away.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, I hear people all the time saying that they go out camping and are able to start fires easier. Or, they just enjoy themselves better. But that situation with the kids is really something that really reminds me.
It blows my mind how many people actually don't know how to start a fire, not even with primitive stuff, with just, like you said, a match, like even to get a fire started with one match, would be a survival. Like people couldn't do it. And I don't know how many times I've been camping with families or with other people and watched that happen. Why do you do this? Like, why? What's your why behind doing this stuff?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different whys, but my big reason is I enjoy being out there, obviously, but I want to, how do I say this? I want to make sure that somebody comes home to their family. I lost my father when I was 17, when I was a senior in high school. And it wasn't really related to being outdoors, but it was an accident, and he didn't come home. So I know how hard it is to have a loved one not come home. So my goal is to save one person, one life, one mother, one father, one brother, one sister, one child, so that they will come home to their family. And it doesn't take much, really. I mean, just teaching somebody how to start a fire so they can survive the night. That little thing could bring them home to their family in the morning. So really, that's my drive to save a life.
And you do the 5-day class and stuff, but you also, I think, do you have like a comfort class where you're like, come out for a couple days and even just get comfortable in the woods? Are you doing that one still?
I've got a 3-day
okay
a a 3-day basic. I did start this year or this coming year to put on the calendar a survival for beginners class. It's a 2-day weekend class, and you just come out and we're going over more modern survival techniques. How to start a fire with one match or a lighter, or what do you bring with you on a day hike to be safe? Should something go wrong, what the few pounds or the gear that you can bring out with you, just so that if something should happen, what do you need to make it home?
Make it home.
And that's going to be a big beginner class. And I'm started doing workshops here in town.
Okay.
At some of the local businesses, and they're just a couple hours long. They're more lecture style, slideshows and things like that, and telling stories. It's hard to really teach survival inside of a coffee shop. But, that's more so because the word survival is so scary for some people. And, you see my picture here. I'm a big, scary, bearded mountain man. I want people to come in and meet me and feel comfortable and realize that I'm just a normal dude. I've got a family. I've got a wife, and I've got 4 kids at home, ranging from 14 to 18 years old, and I got cats and dogs, and I'm just a normal person. I'm not this crazy man that lives in a cave out in the woods. So that's why I do these workshops, just kind of an introduction to survival and an introduction to Jason, so that you can come out, you feel better about coming out in the woods with me for 2, 3, 5, or 50 days.
Oh, yeah. Jason does get road rage, though, don't you?
Oh, yes, I do. Oh, my goodness.
I follow you on Facebook, and by the way, the relationship between you and your wife is a beautiful relationship you guys have. Your wife is one of the funniest people I see on Facebook, but I do see every once in a while you almost kill people on the freeway.
Oh, no. It's the other way around. It's people trying to kill me. No, when I'm not running classes, I actually work in Broomfield. So I drive from Colorado Springs.
Oh, wow.
To Broomfield every day.
That make me shoot myself.
And, with that construction going on up in between Monument and Castle Rock, it's a madhouse up there, and it's so congested. And I just kind of try to go with the flow. Pick a speed, pick a group of people, and you got the people that are going 900 miles an hour, and then you got the people that are going 200 miles an hour. And I'm the guy that's stuck in between, that's getting run off the road, and I don't. I like to say I'm an aggressive defensive driver. So I don't know.
You're gonna have to teach survival class how to survive that commute is what you need to be teaching.
No, it is crazy. But yeah, the drive up there is nuts. But yeah, I do bitch and complain about people.
Nah, I'm just giving you a hard time. What is it about the outdoors that draws you to do this? Like, is it just because of where and maybe you were raised, the love of Colorado and being in the mountains, or is there something that drives people to that there is something special about the outdoors and being outdoors?
Plain and simple, it's a breath of fresh air. We're the society we live in today. We're just bombarded by technology and lights and noise and sound and people, and it's you don't realize it until you get away from it, how overwhelming everything is. Your day-to-day typical life, and just getting outside away from it all, where you can't hear traffic, you can't hear the sounds of the city, and it's just quiet. All you can hear is the wind rustling through the trees and animals out there in the distance. It's calming, and it's relaxing, and I think we all need it. Even we don't even realize we need it until we get out there. And I've had people come out that have never been out of the city before, and they come up here and they're like, this is amazing. And they feel better out there knowing that I'm out there with them because I know what to do. And it's scary for them. I'm used to it, so I'm not scared of it. I've been dealing with or going outdoors since I was a little kid, so it's not intimidating to me at all. I don't want to say the city's intimidating. The city is just overwhelming with all the craziness. So it's almost a therapy, it is therapy. It's a therapy for a lot of people that come out there. It's a lot of people that go out all the time. The hardcore hikers, the through hikers, the 14ers, or whatever you want to call them, all the adventurers that go out there, some of them are going out there strictly for the sport. But I think the majority of the people are going out there just to get away from it all. And it's their therapy to find themselves out in the woods or out in the mountains or whatever their destination is.
What's on the books for 2020? You got anything you're excited about? You said the Arizona, you got that Arizona class. That's a new thing for you. But what else? What do you got looking forward to here in this new year, 2020?
Oh, well, there's a few things brewing. I mean, my standard classes come June is when everything kicks off again, and I'm basically stacked. I've got classes stacked from June to August, and they're just a mix of different classes. I've got the navigation class. Before I get into that, I should say that I'm not the only person that teaches out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been out there with some other guys that came in from other parts of the country.
Right. I bring in other people. So while I focus on your core survival skills, both primitive and modern, food, fire, shelter, water, and both basic and advanced techniques, I also bring in people that are experts in certain fields, such as I bring somebody in for wilderness first aid and wilderness first responder and CPR. He's certified. He's a wilderness paramedic. He's a paramedic. That's important to say. A lot of people that teach wilderness first responders are also wilderness first responder. So you're getting a woofer, wilderness first responder, teaching a woofer. They don't have any, or they have very little field experience. So I found one of the best in the country to come out here. He's from North Carolina. Off-Grid Medic is his company. He comes out here in late July and teaches. He's here for 11 days. Teaches that wilderness first aid and wilderness first responder class. It's a certified class. You can use it for continuing education if that's your thing, or you basically learn how to fix people in the woods. You learn CPR. You learn some of the modern tools. You learn how to use the AED device, which are carried on ambulances, and a lot of businesses carrying them. That's to start somebody's heart. And you learn. It's like there's first responder and first aid. Well, wilderness first responder, wilderness first aid takes it to the next level. Basically, it teaches you all the same skills that you do in these modern first aid, first responder classes, but it also teaches you to improvise should you not have the proper equipment. So we have that wilderness first responder taught by Mark DeJong with Off-Grid Medic. I also have Fernando, I probably butcher his name, Fernando Moira. He runs a tactical tracking school out of Arizona. He's a fourth generation tracker. He teaches search and rescue tracking or man tracking. He teaches military. He teaches special forces. He teaches all over the world. And he also teaches in Colorado because I brought him to Colorado. But he is he's the high profile lost person cases. He comes in on a lot of those cases to try to find lost people. He can basically track people through the woods, track people through the city. He can, if you walk across the street, he can go and find the rubber that came off your soles as you walked across that street.
Oh,
He's
wow.
pretty good, but yeah. And he comes out and trains. We've got this year. It's actually in. I think he comes out in May. We've got a basic and an advanced tracking class, 4 days each, back to back. So if you wanted to, you could take 8 days of tracking with Fernando up at my camp. Who else do I have? I got Donnie Dust. If anybody watches any of the survival shows, Alone. Alone is one of the big ones. Donnie Dust was on the last season of Alone. Donnie's actually local. He lives in Monument. I really thought Donnie was going to win Alone. Alone is basically they take 10 people out in the woods all by themselves, drop them off in different location, and last man standing wins.
Oh, wow.
I thought Donnie was going to win, but Donnie had a massive heart attack. I think it was in 2017, which almost killed him. Widowmaker heart attack, and he was like 1% of the people that survived this heart attack. Well, the symptoms of it is really bad indigestion. Well, during the show, he got really bad indigestion from eating a muskrat, and he thought he was having a heart attack, so unfortunately he tapped out. But Donnie's just phenomenal. He's really, I mean, he's like 5 years younger than me, but he's my inspiration. Really, he's just a great guy to be around. But he's going to come out and teach an animal tracking class this coming spring. He does come out every once in a while and teaches some other classes with me. Who else do I have? I've got Matt Boger is a retired Army Ranger of 22 or 23 years. He's actually been behind enemy lines. He's combat training. Really nice guy. I really vet all my people. I don't want somebody screaming in somebody's face. I'm not like a military style camp. I don't teach people that way. It's really laid back, really friendly, family oriented. But so Matt is, though he is one of those quiet types that you have to worry about. You know what I mean? It's always the guy that keeps himself that you be scared of. He's very calm, quiet, personable guy. He comes out and teaches land navigation. We have a 3-day land navigation class. He can teach you to find a tree in a forest full of trees. So we teach how to read map and compass and all that. It's really great class.
People wouldn't know what to do if GPS went down.
Oh yeah. I mean, we don't use GPS during that class. I think he's got a GPS that he uses to find coordinates throughout our area that we run the classes in, which is about 1,000 acres. But we don't use GPS for the actual class.
No, it's crazy.
We got Cattail Bob comes down from Estes Park area to teach a wild plant walk. I also teach a wild plant walk. I've got Mike Essam. He's out of Manitou. He's certified by the state of Colorado to teach about wild mushrooms. So we have a mushroom walk, edible, poisonous, medicinal, whatever you want to, we find different mushrooms.
I want some of them psychedelic mushrooms. You get any of them?
I'll show them to you. He can show you which ones are the good ones.
He can show me which ones to pick and that'll have that sweet. You got all kinds of stuff going in now.
Yeah, and then of course there's that desert class. Let's see, but yeah, and then there's the 50-day class. But I've got right now I've got 2 people signed up for the 50-day class. I've got 3 people they're trying to get the time off to come out and to take that class. So it'd be pretty awesome if I can get 5 people out there all at the same time, and that'd probably be my limit for that class. I've got on the burner right now. I've got potentially a special forces group coming out here in a couple months to train them how to survive. Nice. And then, and I've got some private classes that are doing, can't really talk about, but
it sounds like you got a year that's going to be fun.
It's a good year. Yeah, I think it'll be a good year. And I I started Colorado Mountain Man Survival in 2010. It was really kind of just teaching people. I was doing more consulting back then, teaching people what they needed to have in their house and their car. It was almost, I guess you could say, I was focused more on the prepper group, but I didn't really like pushing gear, and to me, that's what preppers are all about, is having the gear or the stuff in their house. Okay. And I have more to offer than, hey, you need to have this kind of stuff in your house. So I pushed past that. 2015, I started actually teaching people out in the woods what I'm doing now. So this is my 5th year out doing this, and every year it gets a little bit better. My reach is getting better. I've actually had people, from all over the country come out here to Colorado. I've had people from China. I've had UK. I've had Mexico. I've had Spain. I've had Colombia. Who else? I've had people from all over the country or all over the world fly specifically to Colorado to come out and take these classes.
And people can find out about the classes and the schedule. Can they on your website? Is that where the best place, or Facebook?
Yeah. The website has got, and you got it up here on your screen here, the Survival University. It's got a breakdown of every class that we're teaching for the year, and I add stuff here and there as they come in. But I think pretty much the full schedule's out there for the year. It's got a good explanation of each class, I believe. At least it makes sense to me.
No, and I want to push people to the website, because I do know, like, I have a lot of female followers that are listening right now. I know this will spread, but I think it would just be an awesome experience for a family. I mean, I've had people come out here and visit and not know they haven't had anything to do, or they're not skiers, or they're not necessary, like they want to go on a hike, but they don't know Colorado. I just think a class like this, they're going to get everything, because I also know where your property is. I also know that you have access to the other properties. I think it's down Phantom Canyon or one of those roads, isn't it? Or something like that.
Total I have about 4,000 acres of private land that we run these classes on.
And it's 4,000 acres of primo Colorado quintessential mountain, maybe not high elevation above tree line, but it's one of those, this is the woods of Colorado. It's a great, it could just be a great experience for a family to come out and actually take something away, build a bond with their children a little bit, Do you have an age limit when you have like a family out? Do you have an age limit out there?
Absolutely not. I encourage people to bring their children, because those are the people that really need to learn. They need, kids are so disconnected from Mother Nature. They're all on their phones, they're all on computer games. They need to get outside. They're really the ones that need to learn most what to do. But no, I don't. I've had as young as, I want to say 5 years old out there training with the adults.
Yeah.
Granted, their attention span is not as long, so sometimes they get bored on the more tedious tasks.
But there's plenty of places for them to just go run around.
You go run around and play. Mom and dad stays behind and learns, and but yeah, they're welcome to come out there. And I do have family and group rates, so they're not. If you have a family, you want to bring out extra people. Mom and dad has 3 kids. Before you sign up your 3 kids, just hit me up and let me know, and I'll cut you a break. Because my classes aren't. I think they're reasonably priced, but for some people, it's difficult to come up with that funds, especially if you have 3 or 4 kids. So I work with people, because I got 4 kids myself, so I understand it's
absolutely
hard to take 3, 4, even 2 kids out.
What's the oldest person you've had come out?
I think. No,
No, come on. What the crap?
I think 68 was the oldest person I had out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only age that I know I can remember somebody telling me that they were 68. It's quite possible I've had older.
Survive till you're 68. You're probably gonna make it. I'm just saying. But you never know. You never know.
Well, it was somebody that was actually it was on his bucket list to do something like this. So he came out and we knocked out several things on his bucket list, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, it could be something that an older child could even do with their elderly, or not elderly, but older parent. You know, it could just be a rebonding, learn something different. Don't go stay in a hotel. Go see Colorado in a new way. It could.
Yeah, absolutely. You get a lot of people, brothers, father, sons, mother, daughters, come out there for bonding experiences. We actually had somebody come out with us for their honeymoon, believe it or not.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't up above where we had you. Remember when we had you doing the wilderness first aid victim thing?
Yeah.
There's a cliff up behind you. We set them up on those cliffs and had them camp up on the top of that so they could watch the sunrise and sunset out of their tent all by themselves. So it was kind of tried to set them up in a more romantic area away from the main camp, but yeah, it was pretty cool to have. It kind of blew my mind. Somebody wanted to come out and have a honeymoon out of my survival camp. But yeah, I mean, I've had a Korean reality TV show out there just a month or two ago. I've had a German travel channel come out. That was last year or 2 years ago. I've had Fox 21. I've had KOAA out there, so I've had news. Out there, Colorado, come out there and did a magazine thing. Yeah, so I mean, I've had a lot of different, pseudo celebrities come out, I suppose.
Shoot, Dad with the phone was out there and did he was primo acting. Came out there and did some primo reenactment, and I played. That was with the paramedic guy, I think, and They take it,
the wilderness first responder.
Yeah, and they take it to the next level. It's not just, I had a gallon of fake blood on me squirting everywhere. It was really good it really put people in fake situations, but very realistic situations that happen, like you say, every day, putting people in situations, somebody twist an ankle, break a leg, there was a story that happened just recently, and it's a real tragic story where a group of girls were out hiking the Colorado Trail from Pennsylvania, and they didn't recognize the signs of altitude sickness, and they ended up leaving a girl at camp and trying to go get help, but when they returned, that girl was dead of altitude sickness.
Right, and altitude sickness is a very, very real thing, and it doesn't matter your fitness level. It doesn't, you could be obese, you could be in perfect shape, you could be 100 years old, you could be 4 years old. There's no rhyme or reason about who gets altitude sickness.
Yeah. But if you don't recognize it and catch it early, it can almost be too late.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, really, if you recognize it, you just start descending. You go down rapidly.
Yeah.
You go down as fast as you can. You cannot sleep altitude sickness off.
Yeah.
Chances are, if you try to, you're not going to wake up in the morning. You just down the mountain until you feel better. But yeah, I actually have, what is it? This month, what is it? January, right? Yeah. January 5th at the exchange here on Tejon in Colorado Springs. I have a introduction to wilderness survival class. It's a lecture, but I've got a case study that we'll talk about if we don't run out of time. It's a 21-year-old lady that was hiking here in Colorado, a 14er. She'd been up several mountains before, but she climbed up and got altitude sickness, and for whatever reason, she decided to lay down and rest, and she never never woke up. And she, in prime health, I think she was somewhere 21 to 24, prime health, and it killed her. And it's something that's very simple to defeat, really. You just go back down the mountain until you feel better, and then you hang out there, and then you try to go back up the next day, if you can.
Yeah.
But yeah, it happens to people all the time. Growing up in Cripple Creek, watching people walk up and down the streets at what Cripple Creek's 9,490 feet. People were every day. You know, I worked at the train there in Cripple Creek for a number of years as the engineer, and I'd see people falling down in the parking lot. You know, just they'd step out of their cars and face plant right into the parking lot, and people walking up and down the sidewalks just fall out because of altitude sickness. Typically, 9,000 feet, you know, you're just going to faint, and then you get up and you're fine. It's when you get up above 11,000 feet that it tends to be more dangerous. But high altitude sickness, HAPE, I think starts at the average is, I think, is like 6,700 feet.
Yeah, it's somewhere like people can get it just even. I mean, there are people that show signs of it when they show up in Denver, you know, or just outside of Denver. But yeah, I think it's like 67 to, you know, whatever, 14,000 feet. But I know if I drive up to the top of Pikes Peak and I'm up there for 30 minutes, I start feeling weird, you know. And so
I get a headache every time I go up there, and that's altitude sickness.
Yeah, it's altitude sickness for sure. Well, Jason, man, this is awesome. Hey, thank you for taking the time tonight to
you're welcome. Thanks for having me on here,
man. I have always, since a couple of years back when I came out there with Zane and we did some of the reenactment stuff, I wish I got out there more. I drift past for everyone that has been with me out to Cripple Creek. A lot of the people who followed down with the phone have driven with me out to Cripple Creek. Jason's place is just past the exit of 4 Mile Road. When you guys would come off 4 Mile Road with me on the way to Cripple Creek, Jason's right there. So just a beautiful area. He's down in a valley that's just a gorgeous valley down there. But if you ever make it out to Colorado or headed this way, you want to do a family trip that's something different. You want to do a business building trip. You want to do a girls trip. I'm telling you, something that would it could literally change your life, even in a sense, to give people the confidence to go out for an overnight hike or an overnight camping that they wouldn't normally do with some just limited backpacking gear. To be able to get that confidence, man, come spend 5 days with Jason and you walk out and could survive and be prepared. Not even just survive, not even if something goes wrong, just be prepared to go out into the woods for a little bit. So again, Jason, thanks for coming on tonight. And I'm going to have to definitely get back out there with you. But everybody, you can find Jason at the university or at survivaluniversity.com. You can also find him on Facebook, I think. And he's probably I know he's got a YouTube channel, and you've got some great videos about just all kinds of stuff on your YouTube channel. So
yeah, there's a link on the website to a lot of my videos. They're not all out there, but I've got like a survival tip section on my webpage, and you can go out there and link to all those YouTube videos. And I've got some write-ups and how-tos and things like that out there, so you can go and read some articles on different survival techniques.
Before I let you go, tell me about your 12 days. I read that you spent 12 days out in the woods in Costa Rica.
Oh yeah. What was that? 3 years ago? Yeah, I took jungle survival training down in Costa Rica. So I went down there with Alberto Lopez. He runs a survival school down there.
So that was just to hone your training skills.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, basically, I just want to be able to learn in different environments. So, I grew up in the mountains. I know the skills up here to survive. There's no jungles in Colorado, so I thought it would be freaking awesome to go spend some time down there and learn. So, totally different techniques, obviously different plants. Learned a bunch of different plants and trees that we can eat. probably got stalked by a leopard and some wild boars. And,
nice.
You don't realize how loud the jungle is. Oh my! It's deafening at night. Good thing I brought earplugs because I don't think I could have slept.
Yes, so different than the forest.
Oh, it's so crazy. Yeah, it's loud. But yeah, I spent about 12 days. We spent 7 days in the jungle and then 5 days on the coast, kind of coastal survival, fishing and stuff like that. But yeah, it was freaking awesome. If I ever retire, I'm probably going to go down to Costa Rica and retire down in Costa Rica.
Hey, I'm with you, man.
It was awesome. I loved it. And Alberto was a top-notch instructor. I learned a lot of good stuff from him. But my next adventure is going to be there, the desert, Arizona desert. And that class is coming up in end of February. So if anybody's interested, I'm joining up with a friend of mine that teaches down there. His name is Justin Lunt. Look him up. He's pretty low key. I call him kind of a survival hippie. He's kind of a little bit more like barefoot type guy. More into
nice.
Just a different personality, but we really kind of mesh. But a really great guy. Oh, something else that we might got coming up. Sorry to keep going.
No,
we're looking in October. Everybody's second favorite holiday. We're looking at doing a scare camp up at camp.
Oh,
getting together with the former owners of, not owners, but like president or whatever of the haunted mine.
Okay.
Getting together with them and their actors, and we might do kind of
like a haunted. People come like a haunted, almost like a haunted trail or something.
No, we're gonna.
It'll be a camp out, though. It'll be a camp out.
It's gonna be a camp out. We're gonna go overnight. You're gonna come out, and during the day, I'm gonna teach you camp security. I'm gonna teach you some basic. I don't want to call it SEER. Survive, evade, resist, and escape. There won't be any resist. It'll be see, survive, evade, and escape. So I'm going to teach people how to probably pick handcuffs, break out of zip ties, duct tape, stuff like that. We might do something like an escape room, sort of.
Oh, and dude, you're right on the right alley with these people, man. So you're teaching, like, if we were to get kidnapped or something, how to get out of it.
Basically, yeah. Yeah, it'll be like a civilian kidnapping class, sort of, along with some core survival skills. And then at night, we're going to sit around the campfire and tell some ghost stories. And I don't want to get in too much, but we're going to scare the hell out of you.
Hey, I'm very interested in that. So I need to keep in touch with you on that. That might just be fun for me and some stuff. So hey,
so we're looking at that. But yeah, keep an eye out for that and check out our other classes. I was going to say something else, but I forget what it was. But yeah, I appreciate you having me on. If you need any, Colorado Mountain Man Survival is my Facebook page. So if you search for Colorado Mountain Man Survival, you'll find the webpage, you'll find the Facebook page, you'll find the YouTube. If you search for Colorado Survival, I'm number 1 on the list. I'm number 1 on Google. I'm like the first top 6 is all
nice,
Jason. So,
and what Jason is saying is basically he's the best when it comes to Colorado survival, and he's on dad with a phone, so you don't even got to go search no one else. It's right here. You're listening to it. So, hey, man.
If you want to find me, I'm easy to find. I'm pretty
yes,
personal.
You are.
I try to answer questions. So even if you never come take a class from me and you've got a question, shoot me an email, shoot me a text. My number's out there on the interwebs. And I will answer you as quickly as I possibly can. I mean, I'm a pretty busy guy, but I'll get back to you as soon as I can, and I will give you the information. I won't make you pay for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, man. Hey, thanks for coming on again tonight, and we'll be in touch, bro.
All right. Thanks, brother.
All right, man.
Have a good night.
We'll talk to you later.
Good night.
Bam, kids. Damn, I got good show. I got the best. I ain't even got to pretend I got the best. That's all there is to it. Is we got the We got the best when it comes to the survival class. And hey, thank you tonight for joining. I'll probably be back on to talk a little bit of other stuff, but I'm going to close this show out. Thanks for watching Dad with a Phone. Go check out Jason's website. Go check out, like his Facebook. If you don't, go subscribe to his YouTube channel, engage on his channel, leave comments, questions. If you got more questions for him, if you want to know something, if maybe you just want a tip, if you just bug him a little bit and love on him. And so thanks again, Jason, for joining. I'm glad you watched. If you guys know where to find me, you can find me at the links on the page now. This is Dad with a Phone. Y'all aren't new. And so we'll probably come back live a little bit later tonight for some other stuff. But thanks for watching. This has been a Dad with a Phone podcast with Jason, the founder of Colorado Mountain Man Survival and Survival University, or Colorado Survival University, blah, blah, blah. You'll find it all. We'll be back. Kick it off. We got some other great guests coming in the coming days. Tonight's been a great show. Thanks for joining.